Good evening, world. I've got a bit of an update for you tonight, and it's sort of a good news, bad news situation. It's been a year since I was able to bring Haunting Season back, and due to the pandemic and reduced in-person production, I've been lucky enough to pour myself wholeheartedly into the show. But now, as the world opens back up, as vaccines are becoming more widespread, and as production becomes less virtual and more physical, my ability to get into the studio and record video and stand before you, my ability to edit that video becomes much harder to manage. So I'm moving to an audio-only format for now. I'll still drop the episodes here for the time being, but my focus will be on the audio experience, kind of as it always has been. My goal in all of this is to continue to grow and to push myself as a writer and a storyteller and to continue to bring you gut-wrenching, goose-bumping, skin-crawling, original horror twice a month. Moving to an audio-only format allows for reduced editing times for me, but also allows me to incorporate other voices as well. For example, the role of Patty in tonight's story will be played by my dear friend Molly of the Final Girl Friday podcast. How fun is that? As always, there's more to the show on the podcast with follow-up interviews after the story, so you can migrate there or you can pop in over here. The show will be the same, minus my bald, bearded face on screen. What's most important is that the show isn't stopping, it's just beginning. So grab your headphones, turn out the lights, find a safe hiding space, and fall in to Haunting Season.
Sundown is less than an hour away. Stay for the spooktacular and reschedule your appointment for tomorrow.
Lonnie, the office manager, dressed in blue business attire and sneakers, said.
The clients are on my way home,
Adam replied, as he put on his blue suit jacket and slung his backpack over his right shoulder.
I'll do a speedy presentation, make a sale, hopefully, and rush home, change into something more comfortable, and I'll be back before the hoopla starts.
He rushed past his boss on the way to the door. Shaking his head and rubbing his heavily stubbled face, Lonnie said,
You're our best salesman this month by far. Nobody sells like you do, but tonight is important.
Halfway out the door, he popped his head back in with a toothy grin, winking his large sepia eyes.
Don't worry, I've never missed an office evening party. I don't plan on starting now. I'll see you at moonrise.
Unlocking his used car, Adam tossed the pack in his passenger seat and drove off like a bat in hell. Driving down the highway, the time on the dashboard read 5:40 p.m. Sunset was at 6:30 p.m. Okay, the house is close. If I shorten my spiel, I can be home by 6:10, be out the door by 6:15, and back at the office with plenty of time, he thought, as he turned right and stopped 2 houses down. Grabbing his bag, he sped-walked to the small gray house. Looking down the road, the sun sank further. The moon was barely visible in the changing sky.
This better be quick,
he said to himself, running his hand through his longish brown hair. Ringing the doorbell, he gave himself a once-over to make sure he was presentable. Reaching out again, the door surprisingly swung open. A man in his early 40s stood in his half-zipped sweater and olive-colored dockers.
Can I help you?
Yes, are you Mr. Stevenson?
A woman joined the man at the front door, wearing a royal blue blouse and black and white pinstripe pants.
Hello. Yes, we're the Stevensons. I'm Patty, and this is my husband, Harold.
I'm Adam. We spoke on the phone yesterday. Is now a good time?
Patty nodded her head towards her husband, pressuring him to nod his head in agreement.
Yes, this is fine. Won't you come in?
She said as she moved to the side, ushering him in.
Thank you. I promise I won't take too much of your time.
Shutting the door behind, Harold loudly announced,
You can start without me. Excuse me.
Walking past the two, he gave Patty a strained look as he disappeared into the kitchen.
Forgive my husband. He has a carcass in the other room he's salting before it goes into the freezer. Won't you sit down?
She pointed to the lounge chair.
Oh, is he a hunter?
When he gets the urge. He enjoys it. And the meat.
She laughed.
We usually have enough for a few months. This should last us until spring.
With a twinkle in his eye, Adam said,
I understand completely. I'm a bit of a hunter myself. There's nothing like a kill to satisfy the animal in us.
They shared a moment of laughter before he sniffed the air hungrily.
I must say, however, the way your husband is seasoning his catch is making my mouth water. I'm sure you'll be eating well this winter.
Indeed,
she said, smirking coyly. Pulling out the leather bag, Adam continued.
Thank you again for meeting with me. I understand evenings are a sacred time for family, so I'll make this snappy.
He rolled it out, exposing the freshly polished cutlery set.
Before we begin, I must ask, are you familiar with Cut-Right?
no, I can't say I am. Is this something you can buy in a store?
Oh no, Cut-Right is based out of Pennsylvania. We have small personal offices throughout the country and salespeople to make door-to-door connections, relying solely on recommendations from our clients to succeed.
Harold walked into the front room, cleaning his hands with a red wash rag.
Sorry. Now, what are we talking about?
He sat on the arm of the couch next to Patty.
Knives.
She said. Adam pulled out a serrated carving knife.
Unlike most, these have a full tang, are made from high-carbon steel, and the best part is, they never need to be sharpened. Now, I'm about...
We'll take them,
Harold said. Caught off guard, and at a loss for words, he muttered.
Excellent. We have 6 sets to offer.
We'll take the one you brought,
pointing at the knives on the table.
This is our essentials kit. It includes everything you see here, which runs $450. The bonus
May
wouldn't...
I see that, please? I want to get a feel.
Patty said. Adam let go as she impatiently took it from his hand.
It's lightweight and strong. I'm sure you'll be happy with your selection.
Harold sat unimpressed with his arms crossed, staring at his wife as she lovingly examined the blade.
This is sharp. Is there anything it won't cut through?
Looking up at her husband as she asked the question.
No, cuts all types of protein and bone. If you're sure, I have some paperwork we can fill out.
Ecstatic with the outcome, he reached for the folder containing ordering forms and payment plans. Patty leaned down to caress the back of Adam's head.
That won't be necessary, sweetie. We'll take it as is.
Grabbing his hair to pull his head back, she sawed open his throat. His eyes widened.
Please, don't!
Gurgling as he attempted to stop the river of blood. Trying to stand, Patty pushed him down, stabbing him over and over until he crashed onto the floor, spasming as she plunged the cutter in one final time. Looking over at her husband in a seething manner.
Appreciate the help, Jack. No, please. I'll take care of him while you sit there on your duff.
Jesus Christ, Stacy. Why him? We have our 2. We don't need a 3rd.
Now we have to get rid of his car, or didn't you think of that?
Standing up, she walked into the kitchen. The real Harold and Patty continued to bleed onto the floor, their throats slashed, chests bloody with stab wounds. She tore off several sheets from the roll of paper towels on the counter to soak in warm water. Dabbing the blood splatter from her face, she turned and leaned against the sink, watching her husband trail in behind her.
How long until you're finished with them?
She asked, glancing at the body of the Stevensons.
No more than an hour. We'll need to leave some parts behind for the investigators to identify in the fire, but the guy out front...
He's gravy. He was never supposed to be here, so we can use all of him. More for us. Honestly, I don't understand why you're so upset about this.
Jack said with restraint.
Their blood and flesh is natural to find here, but the kid doesn't live here. If they find any of his DNA, this whole operation is done for. Plus, now we need to dump his car. The only reason this works is because we've had no slip-ups, and baby, this is a big one.
Walking over to her husband, Stacy wrapped her arms around him, kissing him tenderly on the lips.
Well, we'll make sure the gasoline soaks in his blood, won't we? They'll find Harold and Patty's teeth and case closed. We have enough food now for months.
I don't like this.
It'll work. Come on, I'll cut off their heads while you start on their arms and legs.
45 minutes later, 5 deep-freeze coolers lined the kitchen. 3 of them were sealed and locked, and the other 2 still open. The dark crimson pool of clumped blood stunk of rust and death. This was always the messy part. The scene always ended the same. In flames. Wiping his brow with the back of his sleeve, Jack was nearly done.
All right, end of the road. They're ready to move. Now, all that's left is that knife guy in the front.
Stacy clapped her hands excitedly.
Yay! I say we go and grab a couple of burgers, come back, and finish up. What do you think?
Smiling for the first time tonight, he agreed.
Sounds fine to me. But first I think I better find some other clothes to wear. I hope Harold has something that fits.
The table in the front room smashed to the ground, startling the nefarious couple.
What the hell was that?
Stacy shrugged her shoulders. Growls came from the room. Something grunted as it struck the chair and knocked over a vase. Heavy footsteps ran inside the house.
The front door was shut, right? Did you lock it?
Jack asked.
Yeah.
Was there a dog?
I don't know. Check it out.
You check it out.
Rolling her eyes, Stacy said.
Fine. We'll both check it out.
Jack followed her into the room. The curtains were slightly open. A sliver of light from the full moon filled the room with shadows of obsidian.
Here, puppy.
She gently called.
Where are you, you little mongrel?
He whispered. A threatening growl answered back.
What was that?
Stacy stopped in her tracks, looking around for the dog. She saw the chair and the overturned table.
Where did he go?
She hit Jack.
Where did who go?
He asked before noticing the missing guy. Bloodstains surrounded the outline of where the body should be.
No, this isn't right. We need to...
A snarl broke the silence as a 7-foot werewolf bared its fangs. The hellish beast lunged at Stacy, stifling a half-formed scream as it chomped down on her face, sinking its teeth, relishing the flow of blood and meat spilling down its matted black fur. Jack heard Stacy's skull crack and shatter under the creature's muzzle. He needed to escape. Run. Find a weapon. Something. Anything. But the warhammer battering in his chest echoed in his ears. His body, convulsed, paralyzed with terror, all he could do was stare as the monster ripped his paramour in two. The hellhound turned its amber eyes towards Jack, who was cowering in his own filth. Lifting its blood-soaked head, it tossed Stacy's bits to the side, crawling on all fours to its next prey. Jack couldn't move. He tried to scream as the monster's breath washed over him. He prayed to black out as his heart raced, hoping to be spared from this nightmare. The beast snatched him, holding him in its clutches, digging its claws into his back. Blood ran down like liquid fire. His voice no longer suppressed. He yelled in agony as the lycanthrope tore out his windpipe. Choking on his lifeblood, Jack felt his entrails slip out as his bottom half split open. The final horror he saw was the portal to Hades behind the endless row of spikes in the beast's mouth. Adam slumped down into the driver's seat, placed his backpack next to him, and took several deep breaths. He was exhausted. His clothes were bloodied and torn. Speeding down the road, he saw the fire in his rearview mirror. It was only a matter of time before fire trucks and the rest of the brigade drove past to put the flames out. Thanks to the gas the cannibals left behind, the house and everything inside would be ashes by the time it was out. Lonnie went to the door to let in Adam, who had been furiously knocking. Swinging the door open, his jaw dropped at Adam's appearance.
What did you do? You didn't go rogue, did you?
No. I met a pair of psychos who slit my throat and stabbed me in the back. Literally. By the time I regained consciousness, the moon was up and, well, things kinda got out of hand.
They walked past cubicles.
Oh, you didn't feed on them, did you?
Well, they had it coming. They killed the owners of the house and tried to kill me. Trust me, no one's gonna miss them.
Please tell me you didn't leave them there. Do I need to call headquarters?
I handled it.
Adam interrupted.
The house and half the block are probably burned down by now.
And your captures, will they turn?
A smirk crept over his face.
Nothing left to turn.
Lonnie put his arm over Adam's back.
Well, come on. Everybody's waiting for you.
As they walked into the conference room, the rest of the employees were standing in a circle, growling at the 5 men in the middle.
What's on the menu tonight?
Escapees from the prison up the road. No sense in wasting food. Come on.
They happily took their places. The professional men and women growled as their skin stretched. Claws ripped out of their fingers. Their jaws gaped open with dagger teeth. They were tall, vicious, and hungry. They cocked their monstrous heads back as they howled in unison. The prisoners stood with their backs to each other, yelling for help, looking for a way out of this nightmare. One of them cried, praying to God as the werewolves crunched into attack positions. and lunged at their monthly feast. Tonight's story was written for the show by Luis Medina as part of an AutoCrit writing competition for October. If you haven't heard me talk about it on the podcast or TikTok, AutoCrit is a sponsor of Haunting Season and offers affordable writing classes for virtual learners. I took their horror class called Nightmare Fuel, and it legit made me a better author. More about that on the podcast this week, and there's a link in the description below. Haunting Season was created by me, Joshua Sterling Bragg, and is a joint production of Matt Gielan and Believe Limited. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Matt and Ryan Gielan. Special thanks again to our guest author, Luis Medina, our artist, Braxton Gaither, who made the killer artwork for this week, and to our sponsor, Nightmare Fuel, the horror writing class from AutoCrit. This week's story was performed by Joshua Sterling Bragg with guest audio from Molly Oblivion of the Final Girl Friday podcast. The story was edited by Colby Crow, and the podcast was edited by Drama Del Rosario. Hit up Haunting Season on TikTok for more scary movie reviews and horror talk. That's it for today's episode, and remember, we're more likely to survive if we stick together. I'll see you next time.